Okay, so working on our fractions to decimals, we have 7/8 and we have 4/5. And off to the side, it tells you what you need to do to solve this problem. Every single time you go from a fraction to a decimal, this is what you need to do. So every single homework assignment that you guys get a grade on, all the tests and quizzes that you guys get a grade on, this is what I'm doing. This is what a calculator does. This is what a computer does. Okay? This is how it works with your grades in the grade book. Does that make sense? So if you get a 7 out of 8 on a test or a quiz, the computer is doing what? What's this say right here? What's the numerator? So numerator is your top number. In this case, it's 7. And denominator is your bottom number, which is 8 in this case. So off to that side, I'm going to write off to the side top divided by bottom. That way you remember that numerator is top, denominator is bottom. So the phrase is always top dog always goes in the house. Do you guys remember me telling you guys that? Top dog always goes in the house. Always, always, always. So in this case, I have 7 divided by 8. 7/8. Which number goes in the house? Top dog always goes in the house. Which number goes inside? So 7 is inside. I don't want to use a red. 7 is inside. 8 is outside. There is no such thing as bigger number goes in the house, okay? Top dog always goes in the house. Got it? Okay, this is where our dividing decimals really comes into play. So can 8 go into 7? So what do we put up top? We put that 0 up. It does not go in. You put a 0 every single time. Now, what do I need to add after the 0? After the 0, I need to add a decimal. Someone said it. There's a decimal after the 7, which means I need to bring that decimal up and put it in my answer. So once it does not go in, you put a 0 and add your decimal. Is that understood? Now, what do I want to add after the 7? A 0. Look how nice, neat, and organized I'm being, right, guys? 8 goes into 70. How many times? What's 8 times 8? So it's going to be 8. So I'm going to put an 8 up top. My 8's going above that 0. And 8 times 8 is? So I'm going to put a 64 below the 70. And I'm going to do what operation now? Good. Everyone do 70 minus 64. What is 70 minus 64, you guys? I'm going to put a 6. Now remember, we don't do remainders anymore. We keep going, right? So what do I need to add? So add a 0 and bring it down. 8 goes into 60 how many times? Because what's 8 times 7? So the 7 goes above your second 0. And I write 56 below the 60 and subtract 60 minus 56 is 4. What now? And bring it down. Eight goes into 40 how many times? So put the 5 above that second 0 And 8, or third 0, excuse me. And 8 times 5 is? And 40 minus 40 is? So what did we get as an answer? 0.875 or 875,000. You can always stop after 3 decimal places. Is that understood? So if this were to keep going, meaning like it wasn't a 0 at the end, you can stop after 3 decimal places. Is that clear? No need to go to 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever. Stop after 3. Got it? Questions on that? Okay, let's do the next one. I have 4/5. Which number goes in the house? So 4 goes in, 5 goes out, 5 goes into 4 how many times? So you put a 0 up top, and what do we put after that 0? Every single time, 0 decimal, 0 decimal. What do I add after the 4? Notice I'm just adding a lot of zeros, aren't I? Five goes into 40 how many times? So 8 goes above that 0. 8 times 5 is? And 40 minus 40 is? So what's my answer on this problem? So some will be a little easier than others. That it is. Questions? Okay, go off to the side, and where it says 5/8, do that one for me. Guys, I know there's not a whole lot of room in your notes, but those of you that are doing this on your table, it's not going to benefit you if it's not in your notebook. So you need to write it where there's a little bit of room in your notebook. I know there's not a lot of room, but you just won't have the notes to look back on if you don't do it in your notebook. Does that make sense? That's the only one you need to do. So 5/8. Which number goes in the house? So I put 5 on the inside, 8 on the outside. 8 goes into 5 how many times? So add a 0 and a what? Every single time, add a 0 and a decimal. What number do I put after the 5? Yeah, you can add that decimal in, but you don't have to because I have the decimal up top. But your choice, whatever works best for you. Okay, 8 goes into 50. How many times? Because what is 8 times 6? And 48 or 50 minus 48 is 2. What do I need to add? start using a different color so you can see this. Add a 0, bring it down. 8 goes into 20. How many times? How many times? Sorry, this is kind of hard to see. 2 times 8 is? 20 minus 16 is? What do I need to add? Bring it down. 8 goes into 40. How many times? 8 times 5 is? And 40 minus 40 is? So what do we get? 5/8 is what as a decimal? 0.625. Questions on fractions to decimals? It's pretty much like our division of decimals, right, guys? The only thing that makes it easy is there's no actual decimals in it, right? You're just adding a decimal. So it makes, I feel like it's a little bit easier than division of decimals, right? You think? Yeah. Just a smidge, because you don't have to worry about moving decimals, right? Just bring it, put it down. All right, let's go decimals to fractions now. We're reversing it. So we're reversing what we just did. Now it's a little harder because there's no backwards division problem, right? Okay, so the way that I teach doing fractions to decimals is step number 1, say it. Say the number. Like literally say it. So this is not 0.06. That's not how we say it, right? It's 6 what? So if you can say it, you can write it. Because if we say 600ths, we write what? Does that make sense? So say it. Step 2, write it. Literally say it and write it. So 600ths. What's this one? So 4800ths. Next one. 125 thousandths. So I write 125 thousandths. If you can say it, you can write it. Now there is a third step. I know, right, guys? What do you think it is, Cooper? Simplify. I know. This is the part people don't like. I'm sorry. What do I mean by simplify? Like if we look at 6 over 100, what do I mean, Jace? I need to put it into a smaller number, meaning I ask myself the question, what number can I divide out of 6 and 100 that is exactly the same number? McKinley? 2. Perfect. Let's divide 2 out. 6 divided by 2, everyone, is? And 100 divided by 2 is? That can't be simplified. That is my answer. Same thing. 48 and 100. Someone raise your hand and tell me, what number can I divide out of 48 and out of 100? It has to be the exact same number, and it has to go in perfectly. What do you think, Hank? 2. Let's do 2. Someone raise their hand and tell me, what is 48 divided by 2? Elena? 24. And then we all know what 100 divided by 2 is because we just did it, right? 100 divided by 2 is what? Okay, now I'm looking at 24 and 50. Is that in simplest form? No. No, I can still take something out of it. Eva, what can I take out? Oh, you can divide it by 2 again. I can divide it by 2 again. which means that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to divide it by 2 again. I'm going to keep going until I can't simplify it anymore. Who can tell me what 24 divided by 2 is? Brady? 12. Who can tell me what 50 divided by 2 is? Noah? 25. Which means my answer is 12/25. Last one. This one's hard because it's so big, right? So I'm going to help you out with this one because we could take a lot of different numbers out. What else? Question. Rewind. Back to this one. What else could I have taken out of 48? 4. Would I have still gotten the same answer? Absolutely. Do I care which way you do? No, I do not. Just get it in simplest form. I don't care if you do 2 every single time. I don't care if you do 4 once. Does not matter. Is that understood? It's the same with this one, but I'm going to help you out because otherwise we'll be here all day, okay? So, what number or numbers, because there are multiple, that can go into 125 and into 100? What do you think? 25. Does that make sense? We can count by quarters, right? So if I divide by 25, let's count by quarters, right, guys? 25. 50. How many times was that? So 125 divided by 25 is 5. All right, this one's going to take us a little bit longer, right? Well, we're already at 125 is 5, right? Okay. How many times was 4? 100. And how many more hundreds does it take to get into 1,000? Well, how many total is there? 10, right? So 1,000 divided by 25 is what? No. No, that would be too many. Hold on, I'm looking at my wrong, maybe I'm just looking at the wrong problem. Hold on, give me a second. Where is it? Okay, it's not, okay, so what did you guys just tell me? How many, okay, so hold on, I'm trying to think of how to say this better for you guys. 25 goes into 1,000. You told me that 25 goes into 100 4 times, right? So, if it goes in 4 times, that equals 100, right? How many 100s go into this? 10. So that means 25 goes in. That's not the right way to say it. No, I'm just trying to think of the right way to say it. I'm trying to make this easy. Sorry, and now I'm complicating it. Okay. Yeah, so, okay, sorry, yes, 40. Let's just rewind. There we go. Yes, it's 40. Because it goes in 4 times, 10 times is 100, or 40. I just confused that. Just ignore me for the last 30 minutes, okay? That's pretty much how Friday is going, right? Just ignore me for the last, 2 minutes and go back and pretend I didn't confuse the living crap out of you. Got it? I can still divide by something. What can I still divide by? So, 5 divided by 5 is, and 40 divided by 5 is, which means my answer is 1/8, which means I also could have put in what? Not by 8, because 8 doesn't go into 125. I could have divided by 125.
Oh, that's all.
Because 125 divided by 125 is 1. It would have been simpler. It would have been, but you have to know those things, right, guys? All right, let's go and do this one right here, the decimal to fraction for 0.35. 35, how do we say that? 35? Write it. Write it, simplify it. Who can tell me what I divide out of 35 and 100? 5. $35 divided by 5. Who can tell me what that is? Hattie. 7. Who can tell me what 100 divided by 5 is? Jake? What? 20. So 7/20 is my answer. Okay. How do we feel? Okay. What I want to do, we get out at 54. Oh. All right, I'm going to stop my video.